Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Amanda Ray and we have a special guest today. You guys have seen him before. His name is Rob Peterson and he's done a video already. We're going to leave that video linked in the description box down below. But today, do you want to kind of explain who you are again to everybody?
Yeah, I'm Stuart Robert Peterson. I go by Rob because Stuart's kind of hard to explain to people, so it's just the way it is. But anyways, yeah, my mom is Rolling Peterson, Rolling Cabin Peterson, and
she's the one that we did the video on last time.
Yeah, they talked about her a lot. In the order, when my dad always talked about how he would always, he started in his life in polygamy when he was like 50 years old.
50?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he started later in life because he read the Doctrine and Covenants later in his life.
Oh, okay.
So as soon as he read the Doctrine and Covenants, he realized it says if you don't live this, then you'll go to hell.
The law of Abraham, right?
No, it's the Doctrine and Covenants. It's one.
Well, Doctrine and Covenants 132, doesn't it say that the law of Abraham is polygamy or something like that?
Maybe.
I'll put a link in their description.
Yeah. Anyway, so he read that, and then so he went to the LDS church, and he says, "Hey, I want to live plural marriage," and he says, "No, we're going to live it on the other side." And his bishop said, "So just put it on the back burner, and you can live it later in life."
What did his wife think of that?
She didn't like it. She didn't like it at all. She's like, "No, this." Well, she didn't like it, but then again, he held all the papers. He had all of his deacon papers. He had all of his tithing papers. He did temple work. He did all the stuff at the church, but he hadn't lived polygamy, and he read that if you read this and don't live it, then you go to hell.
Okay, so he was really high up in the LDS church.
Yes, yeah,
Oh,
and so he had all of his papers and stuff like that. But he's 50 years old, and he already had 4 kids, and had a family that he's been married for a long time. And so he decided to, he wanted to live polygamy. So he also at the same time he was also having some financial problems.
Okay.
So he wasn't having financial problems because he was very wealthy, but the government was following around for like 3 years, and they took all of his receipts, they took all of his papers, they threw them away in the garbage can and like that for 3 years, and they put him in a room, and they called him up and they says, "Hey, you owe not property tax, income tax."
Oh, for 3 years?
For sales tax, like on the fruit.
The fruit he was
selling?
selling?
He didn't pay any sales tax.
Oh.
So they called him in the office, and I think they thought that he was like doing something dishonest, like drug deals or something.
Oh, okay.
Because he lived in Holiday up in Butler Hill, and his house was paid for, but none of the neighbors had their houses paid for because they were doctors, lawyers, they were wealthy people.
Wow.
But his house was paid for, so they was wondering what he was doing.
Right.
So they followed him around for 3 years, and so they ended up finding out that he owed $52,000. It was like $50-something thousand in sales tax for 3 years.
Oh no.
And back then houses were like $10,000-$15,000.
Yeah.
So he owed like 3 houses worth of taxes. And so they wanted the money now.
Yeah.
So he said by Monday he'll be out on the street. So he went and talked to Artel and said, "Hey, I need this money, this $50,000. If I don't get this, I'll be on the street with my family." He goes, "Well, if you come back to the order, we will loan you the money."
Because he had left by this point.
Yeah.
And
but he was thinking about coming back because he read the Doctrine and Covenants stuff, and so he was thinking about coming back to do that.
Wow.
But he needed the money also.
Yeah. Okay, so when he was in the order, what caused him to leave? Because he left and joined the LDS church?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know what caused him to leave
Well,
the order?
he just not happy with things. Things weren't just going the way they wanted them to and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then his brothers, like Escoll leaving and said that order wasn't honest and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And didn't want him to do with them because of that. They borrowed money, back and forth. But the order wasn't interested.
Should we tell that story again? That's actually so interesting.
Yeah.
So every time I come here, I learn so much about Escoll, and Escoll is my great grandpa. Yeah. And so also a lot of you guys know who LaDonna is. LaDonna is the leader of the order's dad.
Yeah.
LaDonna's
mom.
Mom, sorry, thank you. LaDonna is the leader of the order today's mother, and LaDonna's father is Escoll, and that's who we're talking about, Escoll.
Yeah.
But Escoll left the order, didn't want anything to do with the order, but LaDonna made sure that on his gravestone he had his number like a numbered man. Of the order.
But he wanted nothing to do with them because they took and he borrowed the order money and and they
This
paid
is when
him
Eldon
back.
was the leader, right?
Yeah, Eldon, and then but just shortly afterwards, then Artel borrowed money.
Mm-hmm.
The Eldon, when he borrowed money, then didn't pay interest or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But so he borrowed the order money, and
Yeah.
they, you know, they paid Escoll back and stuff, and then it was. By this
Escoll's
time,
turn
it
to-
was not Escoll's turn, but it was Artel was in power by this time.
Oh,
So
I didn't
it
hear that part.
switched.
Okay, so that's the part I was
Yeah,
confused on. So
so it's-
Eldon,
Died.
okay, so
Um,
Escoll loans money to
the
Eldon,
order, yeah, to the order.
like $30,000.
It was like 50,000 or 30,000.
Okay.
It was quite a large sum of money back time. That
Right.
time. And then
Eldon pays him back.
yeah,
No interest.
no interest. And then Escoll went to pay. So he borrowed some money from the order down the road, and he went to pay it back. And they says, "That's not enough." And he goes, "What do you mean?" He goes, "That's without interest." He goes, "You're charging me interest?" And he's like, "I don't want nothing to do with you guys
Yeah.
because when I borrowed you money, there was no interest. Now you're charging me interest."
Right.
So they wasn't honest with things.
Which is crazy because, but I guess it's with the new leadership. Ortel's like, "Give me your money, give me your money."
Yeah, money.
And then this is
Mhm.
after though his daughter married Ortel,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is also crazy because
Yeah.
that's his son-in-law
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah.
Wow. So then
And-
Escoll leaves, and then your
Yeah.
dad left
Mhm.
later on, and
Mhm.
then now
He came
He started to
back,
come back.
because he needed money.
But
Got another one, but yeah.
I did have a question though. So
Yeah.
he comes back to the order.
Mhm.
He's in his 50s, and he's like, polygamy is right. Then did he start having direction on living polygamy and who he was going to marry?
My that's another thing too is since my mom left the order
Mhm.
and married her the person she wanted to, and then came back. Artel was trying to make her life a living hell
Right.
because
I remember
she
this.
can't come
Mhm.
back and live in the order and have a better life than his wife.
Right.
Why would
And
they,
if-
and so why would that be okay?
This is a really good story that he did share previously. So if you want to hear more in depth of his mom's story, go in the description box down below. We'll have that video. He did make her life. It was like he was
Yeah.
mad at her.
Yeah, because she wouldn't consummate the marriage and she couldn't be married to him.
Yeah.
Now it's her uncle.
Oh.
So it's like, okay, so she marries Stewart
Mhm.
when she comes back, and they have a really good life, and so he goes in there too, and I hope you're not mad about this mom or anything like that, because I don't know
If she'd be mad about this information getting out, we can cut it if you want us to later. But
we'll talk about it. But my mom, so when they went to talk to Artel about living plural marriage, then my mom, my dad were in there talking to Artel about living plural marriage.
Mhm.
Then he also, Artel had Arnold come at the same time, and he had daughters who were of age that were a little bit on the spectrum.
Mhm.
And so Artel goes, "Yeah, you want to live polygamy?" He goes, "I think this would be a really good time. So you're gonna marry,
Basically,
I don't know if it's, but
Oh,
you're gonna
no.
marry them right now, and Arnold, you're gonna give my mom a ride home, and you're gonna go on your honeymoon."
what?
And it just broke her heart.
Oh my God! They didn't follow through, or did they follow through with it?
No, that's how he did it, because Artel was the leader.
Oh my gosh!
And so they my mom had to go home with Arnold, and they went off to do their thing.
Oh my
You're going to
gosh!
do this now.
So everyone else had planned it, and then they were the last to know, basically.
Well, they probably did plan it, but it's like, so my mom was just like destroyed.
Yeah, has to go home alone. Well,
Oh,
yeah.
just get a ride home with somebody else because they're off on their honeymoon.
Ew.
And it's like, what the, so that was, obviously planned or whatever, but I'm not for sure what exactly happened there.
Yeah, I wonder how much your mom knew about.
Well, my mom didn't know anything about
Okay.
them going to marry somebody. Also, they went for a meeting, and now he's married.
Oh my gosh! Do you think he knew at
No.
all? He didn't either. Okay, so these two walked into it not knowing, and then they just had to follow
Now
through.
he's married.
What do you think would have happened if he said, "No, I'm not doing that"?
Well, that's what he came back to order for.
Um,
So Artel had him by the short
yeah.
curlies. But then he found out that he was going to get married the day he walked into the meeting,
Right.
because he said, "We need to talk about this because I'm getting older,
Yeah.
and so if I'm going to live it, then I need to live it. If I do not, you know.
Yeah.
Because it's now or never, because I'm 57 years old.
Right. So at 57, he was
No,
given...
not 57. It was like 50 something, like maybe
Oh, 50
52,
something, sorry.
53 or something. I'm not sure. I have to look back in the time because he had me when I was 50 something.
When he was 50? Wait.
Maybe over 50, yeah.
Really? Wait, so he had ended up with only 2 wives?
So it was Judy.
Judy's the first wife?
Judy was the first wife. And
But your dad and her stayed together? Or did they
no,
divorced?
I'm not sure exactly what the reasons was, but they divorced.
Okay. And then
So
he
he
goes
was single, and so he came back to the order because he wanted the polygamy, and he met my mom, Elaine.
And she was married to Ortel and then
Left.
couldn't consummate the marriage.
Couldn't consummate marriage, so she left. Sorry, my eyes bother me. But anyways, yeah, so she left the order. No, my mom left the order, yeah, and couldn't consummate the marriage. Married her husband, Jim. Then after she married him, then she had some problems with him and it wasn't working out, so she left him and came back to the order. And then so she talked to her dad, her dad, Clyde Gustafson, number 2, and he said, yeah, he talked to Artel and he said, yeah, you can come back. But Artel, the way he was
gonna get her back.
thinking about, we're gonna make this rough on her.
Yeah.
So he let her come back, and then she met Deward.
And he would be her 3rd marriage?
No, 3rd marriage because she didn't consummate the marriage, and so she wasn't legally married to Artel at all.
So then technically, your dad is her 3rd marriage, and then she was his 2nd marriage? Is that right? Am I good?
No, what'd you say?
Because your dad was married to someone else?
Yeah, so this is my dad's 2nd marriage.
Okay.
And this is my mom's 3rd, yeah.
Okay, and then...
And so she already had 5 girls.
Oh, okay.
And then she had...
With Jim?
Yeah, with Jim.
Oh, okay. So they had kids with other people and then they got married, kind of joined their family together?
Kind of, but Dewar's kids were all married at the time. So they weren't...
That's true, because he was older.
Yeah, so he had me, which was his first boy.
Okay.
And then he married...
Deanna married Deward also.
No, Deward was married first.
Oh,
they were
okay.
like 18, 19 years old when he got married, or 20.
Wow.
So he was in his 50s and they were like young.
Really young, yeah. Oh, yeah, but this wasn't really his doing.
Yeah.
He walked into this meeting.
And he was like, well, I gotta do what the leader says.
Yeah, so pretty much, he's like, and because he was thinking about doing it, and then Artel had it set up. I know he did. He's Arnold, your daughter wants to be married, so we're gonna have him married here.
You think he for sure did that to get your mom back?
Oh yeah.
That's so mean.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
And so it just crushed my mom, but she still loved my dad, you know. I mean, and I mean, my dad was a really good guy. He always took care of us. He always did things to help us, and he was an amazing person, you know. And he was. It's kind of sad because he is, you know, such a good person. So he was, like on Sundays, we'd always take us out and play ball, you know. Even as he was getting older and stuff, he still pushed through and wanted to make sure he did things with us and always was there for us and stuff, and which was amazing, you know. And but I didn't realize how young I was when all this stuff was going on, because I'm 50-something years old now.
And that's how old he was.
And that's when he died. Not when he died. When he came back to the order.
And got married.
And had 20-something more kids.
20?
Yeah, because he had 27 total.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so. So in what he died when he was like 76. So at 50-something years old, so like in 15 years he had 20-something kids.
Wow.
But the thing is people that age start slowing down.
Yeah.
And he was just getting after it. You know?
Wow.
So it's like,
it does sound like from your stories, he sounds like he actually tried to be a present father in the kids' lives.
Yes, always, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's definitely different than my dad.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying is a lot of people get a bad beat because they group people into they're all the same. It's like my dad wasn't like that. He was very caring. He did what he did because he thought it was right.
Yeah.
And he cared about his family, and he wanted his family to be together. We was raised a lot different than a lot of these people are raised, because they were more of the money. We was more of like to help people. Well, I've always tried to help people and stuff and try to do things for people.
Yeah.
But
I've always felt that with your guys' family, even
Yeah.
in the order,
yeah,
and feeling even loved by, even as I was leaving, I felt acknowledged by, even like I was saying, like Katie, like
Yeah.
they stood up for me even when I left, even when my own family
Yeah.
was slandering me.
yeah. See, and so that's the thing is like, I always thought it was about love and treating people good and doing God's work and stuff like that. But now I've left, there was no part of that.
Yeah.
And see, like my dad, he found out that Hiram was beating, and he was beating her so bad that he had her locked in her house with no clothes and a bucket to use the restroom in. And my dad found out about that, so he was gonna go beat the hell out of Hiram because he was mad because you don't put a hand on a woman. But they obviously just try to make so people don't realize that they do that stuff.
Yeah.
But my dad didn't do that stuff, so he told Artel he was gonna go clean him up and straighten him out. And Artel goes, well, we'll straighten it out. And then I was like, don't do it, don't beat him up and stuff. And it's like, are you kidding me? The kid's beating on a woman, you don't do things like that.
Right.
So it came down to where they convinced my dad that would never happen, and Artel was gonna talk to him. And they never knew this was happening, and so they were going to put it into it, and stop it. But obviously they just put it underneath the rug, swept it underneath the rug, and my dad just let it go, which it shouldn't have. It should have stopped right then. He should have left and stuff like that, And
There may have been. Do you think there was fears though that if he left, he wouldn't have connection with his family that's still in?
Well, no. He was just still sucked into it to the point where he believed in Artel and he believed in Paul, because this time Artel was gone and my dad was still alive, and this is later on in his life. And so with me, then my dad was having a lot of problems, and he was just getting very old, and he had Parkinson's, and so he would have a rough time doing daily things and stuff. So I made so he only worked half a day, and then I'd bring him home, and then he hated me for that because that was killing him and stuff. But he couldn't work the full day because he couldn't work. He'd be exhausted, and he would just couldn't even walk upstairs.
What was he?
And
was he working?
yeah,
What was he
half
doing?
a day with me. And so I took and I told him, I says, I'm gonna take and you will work half a day, and I'll bring you home, and then you can relax, and your kids can read books to you, and you can go anywhere you want to. Your kids can drive you anywhere you want to go. You can do whatever you want to. You have the money to do it, whatever you want to do, and stuff. So we started taking this medicine. It was like $5,000 a month, and then so
For the Parkinson's?
yeah, for the Parkinson's, it started working, and then so I guess Paul heard about it, and so he called and says, hey, he needs to go on a fast. And I says no. I says if he goes on a fast, that's a death sentence. I says he will be dead. I says he won't make it through the fast, because I know I went through fast with him before, and he ate something wrong, and it really messed him up, and just really roughed him up and stuff. And I says, at the time of his life, he's 70-something years old, I says he will die. And I told Paul that, and Paul's like, you don't know what you're talking about. I said, Paul, I know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, and I was some young punk kid because I was 20-something years old. I was 19 years old or something.
So Paul was like, get in line.
So yeah, well, something like that. And I says, no, he will die. I said, so you're giving a death sentence. If you do this, this will kill him, And Paul says, let me talk to your mom. And so I says, okay. So they talked, and they decided to go on a fast, and it really roughed me up because it pretty much was his, pretty much Paul had just sent him, down the road.
How long was the fast?
It was a 42-day dry. And my dad, when he was younger, he did like 4 or 5 of them, and he worked every day, went through every day.
He worked while he was doing 40-day fast?
He didn't stay home.
Oh my
God. He worked every day, and it was 100 degrees outside, like in June and July.
Yeah.
He'd work through it.
Wow.
He wasn't a pansy like
like my dad. My dad would stay on the bed the whole time.
No, I'm not. I shouldn't say that because I went 4 days dry and stuff like that, and I've never been on one of those fasts, so I can't say anything. But my dad, he was a real man. He worked every day. He worked through all the hot through summer, and his mouth was caked with the dry stuff and he worked the whole thing, and then He worked through the grape juice part. He worked through everything,
Wow.
and he didn't take one day off.
That is crazy.
And
I've never
so-
heard a guy
And
do
so,
that.
he worked every day, and he didn't take any time off.
Wow.
And so anyway, so he was really devoted.
Yeah. So
and
then in this
so-
last fast, he's in his 70s.
Yeah.
And did he make it through it?
And so
This is why I feel like so important. Obviously, because it's your story, your dad's story. It's very
Yeah.
important.
mhm.
But he is not the only one that has been directed by God, right,
Yeah.
to go on this fast, and then
Yeah.
it's the end of the life. Like
Yeah.
you know, Janice,
Yeah, she was young.
we're very young.
hmm
And also, why did Jeannie die?
Yeah. hmm
Like they want to play doctor, play God,
hmm
and then even I believe that the Robinson. Do you remember when Daniel's wife,
Yeah.
the Robinson mom died?
Yeah.
They were just doing at-home tests on her, like they could cure cancer at home,
Yeah.
and she could have lived a lot longer too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you had told them that you didn't want him to go on the fast, but then
Yeah.
they went and talked to your mom. Was
Yeah.
like, no, we're gonna
Mhm.
do this fast.
Yeah.
That's so scary.
So they did the fast, and then like I figured, then so I had some things I had to do, and so I went did some errands and came back, and they let my dad get by the fridge, and he got some tuna fish, a little piece of tuna fish, not very big, and he was dead within half an hour,
Within half an hour.
probably half an hour to an hour. Yeah.
How long was his
And,
fast? Did he do?
He was on the very end of it where he was gonna like do the grapefruit or do
Mhm.
the off the stuff, and so yeah.
Oh my god.
And yeah, just seized him up, and yeah, you can't come off those wrong. And if you're not in the right state of mind, you can't do them. You can't do that. And I knew that that's pretty much what Paul wanted.
Was
You
to
know,
have him
yeah,
gone.
gone, because he was spending too much money on medications and stuff. But he could have been here around here for a lot longer.
Yeah.
And which is really sad, because it's like, but his family is still there and stuff like that. They think they're all amazing and honest and stuff like that. They're really the most dishonest people, because my dad was so proud about how he always took care of his family,
Mhm.
and they wouldn't have to worry about a home or worry about money and stuff like that, because he left enough for them. But now paying rent out there in Woods Cross, did her house. She's paying
I
rent.
heard this, yeah.
Yeah, she's paying rent, and my mom, they sold her house, didn't give her 1 dime of it, and then they took her savings. And so my dad's probably rolling over his grave, going, what is going on? Because he worked his ass off
Right.
for these people,
And to make sure that your family had a good
spit
life.
on his grave now, and it just disgusts me. And so I just can't believe that they would do this, but they did. And because when we was there, we did 100%. We did 110%. We didn't shop outside stores. We didn't do anything that we wasn't supposed to do. We was 100%, and we did everything. And just like my dad did, he did 100%. And yet they do these things, and it just disgusts me, because. And then you hear about these kids being abused and these women being abused. It just makes me sick,
Mhm.
because nobody should be, abused or hurt and stuff like that. They should be protected and taken
Right.
care of.
If it's God's kingdom on
Yes.
earth,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to be abusing the women and the children, how can this be heaven on earth?
Yeah.
Is this really
And,
heaven?
Yeah, and so it just really makes me feel bad for my family, and it makes me, it's sad, because it's like, you want your family to be helped, and I feel bad for all my family that's not being helped,
Yeah.
because it's like, you want so much for your family,
Mhm.
but you can't. When we left, when we got to the point where we couldn't be there anymore,
Yeah.
because they came to my house came to my dad's house on Cherry Street, and they said, you got an outside account, so.
To your dad?
No, they to me.
Oh, to you.
After my dad passed away, when I was married to Marlo, then we'd go out there on Sundays, and we'd go out there and help those guys clean the house. We'd do all kinds of stuff with them, try to help and stuff like that, and I'd go take them and find their things they needed to do, and help them fix their cars and do all kinds of stuff,
Mhm.
And my wife thought I was having a nervous breakdown, because I was doing so much for them, and it was making her upset also. It was just really hard on me, but So I went out there one time and they says that I'm not welcome there anymore, and if I come out there anymore, then they'll call the cops.
What?
And I says okay, and I understand, and I understand. I says, but study about Jesus, and you've got my number, and you know where I live and stuff. So if you need anything, I said I'll be there for you. I love you guys, and that was it. And it about killed me, man.
Yeah.
And
That's hard.
so that was it. And so there was nothing more I could do, but it was a blessing in disguise because I was getting running ragged, you know.
Yeah, you were
Because
doing
it just-
everything.
Yeah,
for
because somebody put carpet down where I'd go and help them fix it, and I'd go to work in the morning, I'd do all this stuff, and then also I had a family, and it was just too rough, but it was a blessing in disguise, and my wife said it was probably the best thing that ever happened.
Yeah.
But so they took that on, so that was fine, but
Yeah.
I couldn't do anything about it, but it just
That's the hard part with
Yeah.
people like you, that the kind ones, the ones that are willing to do things, they get taken advantage of the most in the order. I did have one question before I forget with the, do you really think that they were motivated to push your dad to do the fast because it was $5,000 for those pills? Because it was just too much money? Okay, I was just curious on
that's
that.
how greedy they are.
Yeah.
You gave them millions.
Right.
Really
It's-
millions. I have statements in my basement. I can show you. It was like $6 million.
Oh my gosh. And they had to.
And they want every penny.
Wow.
That's how sickening they are. It's like you have a person that gives you everything,
Mm-hmm.
and yet they want a little bit, like a nickel,
And they're like,
and
no.
you're like, nope.
Right. But and you would
Die.
think, yeah, after that much money too, and how much loyalty he had to the order, you would
Mhm.
think that they would at least make sure that the wives' homes could be in there, and that the wives wouldn't be spending rent money after he passes away on the
Yeah.
homes that he bought.
Yeah,
It's so frustrating.
yeah, and so she's paying rent. My mom's living at my sister's house. She lives on Social Security. She gets from the government, which they say the government's bad, but that's the only place she gets money from now because the order took all of her money, and all those guys went on vacations and did all their things with. I mean, my sister Jill figured out it was like $1 million mom had in her savings, and they took it. And then it was like 800,000 for the house. This chair she sold, didn't give her a dime.
Wow.
And so they take this money from these people that are older and stuff, and just don't even care.
Yeah.
Don't even care.
They don't. I remember hearing one of Paul's daughters, because I was upset when I found out that my grandpa Ray's money went to the order, and he had millions too.
Yeah.
And one of Paul's daughters said, well, I wouldn't want to be getting a penny I wouldn't want my grandparents to be giving me money. Are you saying that you wish that you had your grandpa's money? I want to work for all my money. And I looked at her and I was like, your dad took it. Your dad wanted to take all of my grandpa's money. But
Well,
they're teaching the followers.
Who doesn't deserve it more? His bloodline?
Right.
Or somebody that just sits over here and steals it from you?
Like, thank you.
Yeah. No, it's the bloodline. Your parents, what they did in this life should come to you.
Mhm.
That's called an inheritance. It's in the Bible.
Well, and that's what he wanted.
Yes.
And that's what your dad wanted.
Yes. And I don't want anything for myself. I want his wives
Mhm.
and his other kids to be taken care of.
Right.
I don't care about me. I mean, I care less if I got money and stuff like that. But my family's like that. My
Same
dad
struggle.
boasted about making sure his wife never had to work or had to worry about paying rent and stuff.
Yeah.
And yet they did that. That's disgusting.
Yeah.
And my
really
mom,
is.
as old as she is and stuff, and all the money, all the stuff she's done for them just to say, nope, you're broke.
Wow.
It's like, that's disgusting. And it's just like, I feel so bad. And then that these people that support these people, I feel bad for them because it's just like Hitler.
Mhm.
You know, he had all these smart people that supported them and stuff like that. But yet they thought it was a good thing because, he had a good, at the beginning, but then also went south, and then they still support him.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean, just because they support him and had a good idea at the beginning, doesn't mean it's still good.
Mhm.
You've got to make a stand.
Yeah.
The only way evil does good is if good men sit by and do nothing.
Exactly.
Place of God and place of love is where God's at. Like
Yeah.
you should have your parents' unconditional love for you, and your parents should have unconditional love for you. It shouldn't be unless
Yep.
you do this.
I'll love you if.
If
Mhm.
you do this or if you do that. No, it should be unconditional. no matter what.
Yep.
You know, and because the thing is what you do and what you do is completely different, but there's nothing wrong with it. As long as you're not harming anybody, then they should just have the love for you, you know.
Yeah. And it's gone so, I feel like it's just gone downhill so fast as each new leader has come into.
I call it the Midas touch. Everything turns to gold when you touch it. Yeah, the Midas shit touch. Every touch turns to shit.
It's true.
Yeah, because like the Fountain East over there, a business that's right by the freeway had complete advertising. Was an amazing place in the spa they used to have.
I think so.
And now it's just a pit. They just have like some construction stuff there. But that business could have done anything because it had all the people driving by, millions of cars driving on the freeway.
Oh yeah.
And they had all that property right there. It was just garbage.
Yeah.
Because they touched it and just
Ruined it.
turned it into manure.
And I'm so thankful that you're able to speak out about these issues because there's not a lot of people know what's going on, but it's hard to talk about them.
Yeah, it's really hard because, like with my dad, he's an amazing guy.
Yeah. It sounds like you really loved him a lot. And that's rare in order to have a bond with your dad like that. That must have been hard on you when he passed away. And that's the difference with you and me, because my dad wasn't a big part of my life. When he's actually got cancer now, and they're making him go on one of those fasts. But when I was thinking of him passing away, I don't know if I would feel anything because I didn't have that connection with him.
Yeah, I knew Burl when I was younger and stuff, and I worked out for your dad and stuff.
You did?
And yeah, and I know your dad and stuff like that. He's actually got a really good heart, but he's misled because he buys into the things. But in all reality, I hope he comes to his wits, his senses, and realizes that the only thing he has in this life is his children.
Yeah.
And whatever they do is what he's gonna give to the earth.
Yeah.
You know, to the people.
I think that he is definitely one of those loyal followers.
I know, it's sad.
Yeah, and he will. I've kind of given up hope on him seeing things because even my mom would say he's just the puppet and they're the puppet master.
Yeah, it's so sad because there's so many good people that have left, and the only reason why you leave is because you're good people.
Yeah, well,
and
maybe,
you care about people.
Right. I think that the people that leave have been through so much that they just don't care if they go to hell or not, because they're just like over it.
If you're in order, you're in hell, because if you have to do things that people want you to do and ask for your money and stuff like that, it's ridiculous. But the thing is with the order, it's not the answer, and the thing is because you are the best judge of your being, like the best person to help you become the most successful person and the most, healthy person. Most things for you, in your heart what you need to do, and those people that have to be in a group and have like a leader and stuff.
And to tell them what to do.
They are weak. I'm sorry, but it's weak.
I think it's a matter of they never got to find themselves because Paul never allowed them to push them down so much that they never found themselves, so they don't know who they are.
Yeah, because like your dad is an amazing guy, and if he could just follow his heart, he could be amazing, because I can see it in you, because you're an amazing person. And so seriously, if he would just push his heart out and live by how he feels in his heart, he would be amazing, and he'd do amazing things.
My mom would say that. She would say, if he wasn't in the order, I think he would be a really great guy. But it's like we don't know who he really is because he is the order version of him.
When this person tells him he stops.
Yep, the ceiling of growth
he
is...
doesn't live to his full potential.
Exactly.
And what you can.
Right.
So
that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, and you are. And I can see it in you when you do your things and stuff. I'm proud of you. You're amazing and stuff. And I'm so glad to meet you and stuff. It's
We
awesome.
didn't tell the cameraman is Priscilla behind the camera.
If it's shaky, don't be mad at me.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't be mad because she's a nice person. She did the best she could. It's awesome.
We were so excited to say hi to him because me and Priscilla are related.
Yeah.
Cousins,
so it's like a family reunion right now.
Yeah, you're witnessing a family reunion.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
So the order didn't really tell the story, but my grandpa Gordon was married again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, he married.
Can you tell me the
Mindy.
story?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mindy.